In 1947, a Bedouin shepherd tossed a stone into a cave above the Dead Sea and heard something shatter. Inside the cave at Qumran, sealed in clay jars for over 2,000 years, were scrolls and fragments written in Aramaic ink on animal skin. Among them were 11 separate manuscripts of a text that did not appear in any Bible. When scholars finally translated the fragments, they found a first-person account attributed to a man named Enoch. He claimed he had been taken beyond the edge of the sky. He described 5 distinct regions of the cosmos, each with physical features, named landmarks, and specific phenomena. 4 of those regions correspond to cosmological traditions scholars already recognize. The 4th contains a description of the afterlife that matches no known religion on Earth. The fragments date to the 3rd century BCE. The text is older than the Book of Daniel. The manuscripts that preserve this account exist in 2 forms, separated by more than 1,000 years. The oldest are the Aramaic fragments pulled from Cave 4 at Qumran, catalogued as 4Q201 through 4Q212, published by Joseph Millick through Oxford University Press in 1976. Paleographic analysis by Frank Moore Cross of Harvard University dates these fragments to the 3rd century before the Common Era. The complete text, however, survives only in Ge'ez, the classical language of Ethiopia. The Ethiopian Orthodox Church is the only major Christian tradition that considers the Book of Enoch canonical scripture. At least 49 Ge'ez manuscripts are known to exist, the earliest dating to the 15th century, preserved in monastery libraries across the Ethiopian highlands and catalogued by Michael Knibb of the University of London in 1978. The Western world lost this text for over 1,000 years. In 1773, the Scottish traveller James Bruce carried 3 copies out of Ethiopia after years of travel through the highlands. He deposited them in European libraries. Richard Lawrence produced the first English translation in 1821. But it was the Dead Sea Scrolls discovery that changed how scholars understood the text. The Aramaic fragments proved that the Book of Enoch was not a medieval Ethiopian composition. It was ancient. Portions of it predated most of the Hebrew Bible's latest books. The section scholars call the Book of the Watchers, covering chapters 1 through 36, is among the oldest layers. George Nicholsburg of the University of Iowa spent decades producing the definitive commentary on these chapters, published through Fortress Press in 2001. His work runs to over 600 pages for this section alone. This is not fringe scholarship. These are peer-reviewed volumes from major academic publishers, debated in journals and conferences across decades. The figure at the center of the text receives exactly 1 verse in the entire Hebrew Bible. Genesis chapter 5 verse 24 states that Enoch walked with God, and then he was not, for God took him. No death is recorded. He is the 7th generation from Adam. That number matters. James Vanderkam of the University of Notre Dame demonstrated in 1984 that the Enoch figure maps precisely onto Enmedaranki, the 7th king in the Sumerian antediluvian king lists. Enmedaranki was taken to heaven by the gods Shamash and Adad to receive divine knowledge of divination and cosmic secrets. The structural parallel is exact. 7th in a genealogical sequence, taken up alive. Granted hidden knowledge of the heavens. The Enochic scribes did not invent their protagonist from nothing. They transformed a Mesopotamian literary prototype into an Israelite visionary, and they gave him a journey. Chapters 17 through 36 describe what scholars call the cosmic journeys. Enoch is guided by angels to the boundaries and beyond of the created world. The text is structured as a geographic tour. He moves from region to region. Each location has described physical features, mineral compositions, atmospheric conditions, and named angelic guides who explain what he is seeing. Kelly Coblentz, Borch of St. Edward's University, published the most important study of this geography in 2003 through Brill Academic Publishers. Her monograph demonstrates that the journey sections follow a coherent cosmological map. The author was not recording random visions. He was working from a systematic understanding of cosmic architecture that drew on both Mesopotamian and early Hellenistic geographic traditions. 5 distinct regions emerge from the text. Each one has identifiable boundaries and a specific function within the cosmic order. The first 4 regions Enoch describes can be matched, with varying degrees of precision, to cosmological traditions scholars already know. But the material in the 4th region contains descriptions that resist every comparative framework researchers have applied. That anomaly is where this account is heading. Enoch describes a place where there is no firmament above and no foundation of earth below. The language is deliberate. The Hebrew concept of tohu wabohu, the formless void of Genesis chapter 1 verse 2, appears here not as a primordial state before creation, but as a physical location that Enoch visits in real time. He stands in the waste and observes it. He sees stars bound and chained in a place of punishment. Chapter 18, verses 14 through 16, describe columns of fire rising beyond measurement and a chasm beneath them of terrible depth. These are not metaphorical stars. The text identifies them explicitly as celestial beings who transgressed their appointed courses and left their stations. Wayne Horowitz of the Hebrew University of Jerusalem published a comprehensive reconstruction of Babylonian cosmic geography in 1998 through Eisenbrauns. His work documents a region in Mesopotamian cosmology, beyond the edge of the earth, where punished divine beings were confined after losing cosmic conflicts. The Enuma Elish describes the binding of Tiamat's 11 monster creatures in chains after Marduk's victory. The structural parallel with Enoch's chained stars is precise. Divine beings, transgression of cosmic order, imprisonment at the margins of reality. Koblenz Bouch also identifies a Greek parallel. The Titans cast into Tartarus after the Titanomachy occupy an almost identical cosmological position. Defeated divine beings punished by confinement in a region beyond the edges of the known world. Hesiod's Theogony describes Tartarus as a place where bronze walls surround the prisoners and night spreads in triple line about their necks. The convergence across cultures is specific. The academic consensus from Nickelsburg, Koblenz Bouch, and Van der Kam is that this first region reflects a synthesis of Mesopotamian and Hellenistic cosmological ideas. It is recognizable. It has clear parallels. It fits within known frameworks. Enoch then describes storehouses from which the winds emerge. The text names specific winds and assigns them to specific gates. Chapter 34 through 36 catalogues the directions, the qualities, and the effects of each wind with a precision that reads more like an inventory than a vision. Some winds bring rain and blessing, others bring drought and destruction. Each has an assigned gate and an assigned season. This organizational structure mirrors Babylonian wind lists found on cuneiform tablets. Horowitz documents the correspondence in detail. The Babylonians understood winds as cosmic forces stored in chambers and released through gates at the boundaries of the world. The concept is not unique to Enoch. Jeremiah chapter 10 verse 13 and Psalm 135 verse 7 both reference storehouses of the wind. But the Book of Enoch provides a far more systematic and detailed account than anything preserved in canonical Hebrew scripture. Enoch also describes the cornerstone of the earth, a foundation stone or pillar on which the entire world rests, connecting the visible surface to the cosmic deep beneath. Horowitz identifies the identical concept in Babylonian cosmology. The temenu, the foundation, linked the earth to the apsu, the freshwater abyss beneath all things. The parallel is structural and functional. Matthias Albani of the University of Jena demonstrated in 1994 that the astronomical sections of 1st Enoch contain observational data consistent with Babylonian Mulapin tablets. These are cuneiform astronomical reference texts. The Enochic scribes were not passing along oral folklore. They were transmitting technical knowledge that originated in Mesopotamian scribal schools. 2 regions surveyed, and every feature Enoch describes traces back to known sources: Babylonian tablets, Greek cosmological traditions, Israelite scripture. The text is syncretic but identifiable. That pattern does not hold for what comes next. Enoch describes 7 mountains of precious stone, 3 toward the east, 3 toward the south. The middle mountain reaches to heaven like the seat of divine authority. Chapter 24 describes it as composed of fragrant stone unlike any mineral found on earth. In the valleys between these mountains grow fragrant trees. Among them stands one tree whose fruit gives life. The angel Raphael tells Enoch that this tree will be given to the righteous after the great judgment. Its fruit will be transplanted to the holy place beside the temple of the Lord, the eternal King. Nicolsburg identifies partial parallels to the cosmic mountain tradition found across the ancient Near East. Mount Meru, in Hindu and Buddhist cosmology, serves as the axis of the universe. Mount Olympus in Greek tradition houses the gods. Mesopotamian texts describe the mountain where heaven and earth meet. The Tree of Life appears in Genesis, in Mesopotamian cylinder seals, and in Egyptian tomb paintings. But the 7-mountain structure itself is peculiar. No known Mesopotamian text describes exactly 7 cosmic mountains arranged in this specific directional pattern. No Greek source preserves this configuration. No Israelite tradition before Enoch describes such an arrangement. The number 7 carries obvious symbolic weight: 7 visible planets, 7 days of creation. But symbolic resonance does not explain the geographic precision. 3 east, 3 south, 1 in the center, reaching to heaven. Koblenz-Bouch calls this section a cosmological hybrid. The Throne Mountain concept is recognizable. The Tree of Life is recognizable. But the composite architecture, 7 mountains with specific compass orientations and mineral compositions described in detail, appears to be either an original construction by the Enochic scribes or a reflection of a tradition that has not survived in any other known text. The comparative framework begins to strain. Then Enoch arrives at a place that breaks the framework entirely. Chapter 21 describes it as terrible and beyond the great earth. He sees no heaven above, no firmly founded earth below, no water upon it, no birds in its sky. It is a desolate and terrible place. 7 stars lie bound there together, like great mountains burning with fire. Enoch asks the angel Uriel why these stars are imprisoned. Uriel answers that these are stars who transgressed the command of the Lord because they did not come out at their appointed times. God bound them there for 10,000 years until the time when their punishment would be complete. Then, in chapter 22, the geography shifts to something scholars have struggled for decades to categorize. Enoch sees a great and smooth mountain, hollow inside. Within the mountain are 4 separate chambers carved from the rock. 3 of the chambers are dark. 1 is bright and contains a spring of living water. The angel Raphael explains that these hollow places were created so that the spirits of the dead might be gathered and separated. The bright chamber holds the spirits of the righteous. The 3 dark chambers hold different categories of the dead, each sorted according to the nature of their transgression and the circumstances of their suffering. This is not Sheol. Sheol, as described in the Hebrew Bible, is a single, undifferentiated underworld. Job chapter 3, Psalm 88, Ecclesiastes chapter 9. The dead go down to Sheol without distinction. There is no sorting, no categories, no separation of righteous from wicked. The concept of a differentiated afterlife does not appear anywhere in the Hebrew Bible. This is not Hades. The Greek underworld contains geographic regions: Elysium for the blessed, Tartarus for the condemned, the Asphodel meadows for the ordinary dead. but the architecture is entirely different. There is no hollow mountain, no 4 sealed chambers, no spring of water in a bright room. Homer's Odyssey Book 11 and Virgil's Aeneid Book 6 describe an underworld of rivers, fields, and open landscapes. Not a mountain with compartments. This is not the Mesopotamian underworld. The Sumerian and Akkadian Kur is consistently described across texts as a single realm of dust and darkness. The Descent of Inanna and the Epic of Gilgamesh both portray an underworld where the dead exist without moral distinction. There is no sorting by ethical category, no chambers, no mountain. This is not the Egyptian Duat. The Egyptian afterlife involves the weighing of the heart against the feather of Ma'at. There is moral judgment, but the geography is entirely different. Fields of reeds, lakes of fire, 42 gates with guardian demons, not a hollow mountain with 4 sealed rooms. This is not the Buddhist Naraka or the Hindu realm of Yama. While these traditions describe multiple levels or chambers of punishment, the specific architecture Enoch describes, a single mountain hollowed into exactly 4 chambers with one illuminated by a spring of living water, has no parallel in any South or East Asian tradition that scholars have been able to identify. Koblenz-Bauch's analysis arrives at a conclusion that is as honest as it is unsatisfying. This section of 1st Enoch represents either an original theological innovation by the scribal circle that composed the Book of the Watchers, or it reflects a tradition so marginal that it left no other surviving trace anywhere in the ancient textual record. Neither explanation accounts for the level of architectural detail in the description. Nicolsburg observes that this passage is the earliest known Jewish text to describe a differentiated afterlife with separate compartments for the righteous and the wicked. It predates the Pharisaic concept of bodily resurrection. It predates the rabbinic descriptions of Gehinnom and Gan Eden by centuries. It predates the Christian concepts of heaven and hell by at least 300 years. Whatever theological system produced this 4-chambered mountain of the dead, it did not come from any tradition that survived long enough to leave its own independent textual record. The text continues. Enoch moves on to the final region. He reaches the ends of the earth and sees the gates through which the stars emerge and set. The text provides specific counts. 12 gates in the east through which the sun passes over the course of the year. Stars have their own assigned gates. The winds emerge from gates described with directional precision, each named and characterized. Albani's work confirms that this system corresponds closely to Babylonian astronomical gate systems preserved on Mul-Apin tablets. The Enochic scribes were working with observational astronomical data transmitted through Mesopotamian channels. This is technical material embedded in a visionary narrative. Enoch names the winds and their qualities with the systematic thoroughness of a scribe compiling a reference document. The journey ends without ceremony. There is no revelation at the end of the road, no final vision, no speech from God. Enoch has seen what he was brought to see. The text records, and it stops. The Aramaic fragments sit in climate-controlled storage at the Rockefeller Museum in Jerusalem and in collections across Europe. The Ge'ez manuscripts remain in Ethiopian monastery libraries and in the British Library in London. Visitors walk past display cases without knowing what the ancient script contains. The material evidence is not disputed by any credible scholar in the field. 4 of the 5 regions Enoch describes can be mapped onto known cosmological traditions from the ancient Near East and the Hellenistic world. The storehouses of the winds trace to Babylonian tablet records. The imprisoned stars parallel both Mesopotamian and Greek traditions of punished divine beings. The 7 mountains partially correspond to the cosmic mountain traditions found across multiple cultures. The astronomical gates align with observational data from cuneiform tablets. The 4th region, the hollow mountain with 4 chambers, does not correspond to anything. Not to the Hebrew Bible, not to Greek literature, not to Mesopotamian tablets, not to Egyptian funerary texts, not to any tradition east or west that scholars have examined over 150 years of research. A scribal circle in the land of Israel, working in the 3rd century before the Common Era, described an afterlife geography that predates every major religious concept of the differentiated afterlife and belongs to no known system of belief. The fragments have told us what they contain. The question is, what the scribes were drawing from when they carved those words into the skin 2,300 years ago. That question remains open. The manuscripts are still waiting.